Oh, Joe.
Here we are. Good morning.
Guess what, Joe? Uwe Boll just finished shooting his newest movie.
I love that guy. His movies, bad.
Bad. This new
Not
one,
even
though,
fun.
This new one,
Huh?
It's called The Dark Knight, spelled like the Christopher Nolan
All right,
movie.
now this I like.
And it stars Armie Hammer. And if it's all right with you, I want to take a little step back in our cold open this week and examine each of those terms in isolation for anyone that needs some additional context here.
Break it down for the children.
Okay, so Uwe Boll, like you said, famous German trash filmmaker whose movies are so bad and trollish that this conspiracy theory has actually developed that he's doing like a producer's thing where he's making them bad on purpose in order to take advantage of this German tax loophole that allows his rich donors to write off box office losses. So his movies are so bad they had to like come up with this theory as to why. Certainly there's a strategy that he's intentionally making them this bad.
Brett, when we did our top 10 video game adaptations
I
of all
fought
time,
hard.
No, but for sure. But for Patreon subscribers,
Yes.
you should go back. We talk a lot about Boll.
We talk a lot about Boll,
about him.
and
'Cause he made a lot of video game adaptations.
That
back
was
in
his
the day.
thing, and people argue that he ruined the genre, that he lowered the bar.
Can't
so
ruin a
much.
thing that wasn't good. He made it.
He was the one that like
He
came in and lowered
just
the bar
totaled
so
it.
far,
Right.
and would like underbid better filmmakers to get the rights to these things, and then just made them trash.
So we're talking about like Blood Rain,
Blood Rain, House of the
Devil, which is the one that you like. That's the
I
one.
fought hard for that
House
to
of the
be-
Devil is the one people are like, well, it's fun though. And then I watched it and I was like, I didn't have a lot of fun.
It's in our
I
top
wanted
5.
it to end. Well, because you're my partner in crime
Yes.
and you demanded it.
And I fought hard to include it as number 5 because
yes, that's right.
because there really aren't that many great video game adaptations.
Well, yeah, right.
And House of the Devil is at least makes me laugh. So anyway, this very Uwe Boll, his new movie that he just finished shooting in Croatia is called The Dark Knight. And it's not literally about Batman, but it's about a.
What do you mean it's not literally? It's called The Dark Knight with a K.
And it's about a vigilante who like fights back against criminals and then butts heads with like law enforcement.
This is heaven. All right. So does he wear a suit?
Okay, I'm gonna show you.
Okay, sorry.
All right, I'm gonna show you a screenshot. They have released one screenshot,
Oh, really?
And it's the funniest
All
publicity
right.
still I've ever seen for a movie. And it stars Armie Hammer. Actually, if we can go ahead, Margaret, do you have that publicity shot? Here it is. All right, Joe, explain what we're seeing here.
We're just seeing like, I don't know, a guy.
It's Armie Hammer.
Armie Hammer's got jeans. He has a nice sort of trench coat on. He's sort of wearing a black, I don't know, like a black turtleneck, and he's just stomping on your face. Like the image is as if you're laying on the ground, and Armie Hammer, convicted cannibal, is just stomping on your face. Not convicted.
If Uwe Boll's
Just
entire
stomping.
career is like a fuck you to movie lovers, this is his Sistine Chapel.
This is him going.
This
Yeah, this is
publicity
beautiful.
still right here of Armie Hammer in just the most phoned in costume that they went down to the local Kohl's.
He's
and got
just
5
like
minutes before shooting
a
started
guy. Yeah, I don't even know like what would you wear this outfit to? Just
to
like,
go vigilanteing.
just like
to go
walk
be a-
around
to go
Park
be a-
Slope in the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a black trench coat, black sort of turtleneck, and like really just like bargain basement jeans
Yeah.
and like some some hiking boots or something.
So
there.
now does the Dark Knight Bowles, like, does he live in Gotham or like New York, or does he like?
Yes, good question.
Yeah, I have so many questions.
They shot it
Yeah.
in Croatia, so they're
Okay.
gonna have. I mean, look, Bull's done more with less before, so I'm sure he can make Croatia look like New York if he wanted to, or like Gotham. A lot of the details are uncertain, but what we do know is that Warner Brothers and DC are obviously not happy about this. They hit Bull with a cease and desist already, but he explains
what
that
he
he has
wants.
decided to ignore this.
Yeah, of course.
And he gives us a little background on his podcast, which I highly recommend you listening to. The podcast, not the podcast itself, Joe, if you look it up on Apple, is called the Uwe Boll Podcast Network. That's the name of the podcast. And he will occasionally drop in. I don't even think it has a logo. He'll occasionally drop in and I listen to the entire. All right,
You did?
all right, Joe.
Is
This
it in
I
English?
haven't told you about any of this yet.
What
This
are you
is
talking
This
about?
is so funny. Okay, so the description of the it just says like a message from Uwe. Uwe checks in, something like that. The description of the episode says an hour-long check-in from Uwe Boll. The episode's 15 minutes.
He is the king.
And halfway through the episode, his son walks in the room, and he has a conversation with his wife about like somewhere they need to be in 30 minutes, and it's really unclear what they're talking about. But he has the full conversation in the podcast and didn't take it out. But around that, He does talk about this this Warner Brothers cease and desist he got and why he's ignoring it. I have that audio, Joe. Can we listen to that audio, please, of Uwe Boll's podcast and enjoy this?
DC and Warner already called me.
If we get a little louder.
That I cannot use that title, and I understand it. But I also said to them, guys, you remember Rampage, the Rock movie? You used my title, and they asked me for permission to use my title, and they gave my permission for free. And the fact that I did that, they could also show greatness and say, look, it's not a Batman movie, so you can use the title. They can respond like this. Who knows what they will respond? I'm waiting. But most of the DC films, and it is the same with Marvel, suck. And they're too long. With endless CGI, everything is fake, and the stories suck. And I think especially Batman, how many Batmans we want to watch, you know? So I said, like, why you don't guys buy it? Because what can you lose? So I think they should try out a very violent sexual, like we have sex violence, we're on the NC-17 level.
Okay, all right, we can cut it there.
And
okay, so Uwe Boll wants Warner Brothers to buy his NC-17 movie called The Dark Knight with Armie Hammer because he doesn't think Batman movies are popular anymore.
Good idea. But also, like, that's not his first idea. His first idea is a simple quid pro quo.
Yep.
He's just simply saying, when you made your video game adaptation of the video game Rampage that you called Rampage, that was sort of like my insanely violent, series Rampage.
Yes.
Now, do you think that's true that Universal went and asked Uwe if he was
I don't
why
think
would
so.
They do
I
that?
think they
That's
maybe
impossible.
there's like some sort of like
the lawyer
legal checkbox for
thing,
anybody
right.
that's ever named their movie Rampage.
Right.
But he is saying that they stole the name for their movie Rampage from his movie that was made in the 2000s called Rampage.
Yeah.
It's based on a video game from the 80s is what their thing is based on.
Right.
But I love that he is saying it almost feels like he made The Dark Knight, this new movie, because he was still pissed off about them taking the title Rampage.
So this is but it does also sound amazing. So we're getting a violent, I'm not gonna say sexy because it's not gonna be sexy.
No, it will
Let's
be
say
sexual. It will have it will have
full of sex.
Yes,
full of graphic depictions of somebody's sex happening, plus a violence.
Armie Hammer will be holding a
gross.
gun to someone's head as they fillet him. Is what will happen in this movie.
Like Hammer fell really far.
Yeah,
fair enough, right? He got outed as a cannibal. He had some texts where he was telling women that he wanted to eat them.
Right.
People started putting some clues together. There were like some bodies. It got out of hand. Then we learned Armie Hammer is, the son of,
evil
Elk's parents.
Yes.
Like crazy,
like almost like Get Out parents. Like they have like a dungeon in their basement kind of parents. His mom is like a far right wing, like extremist Christian who like gives him a Bible every time she sees him. We've learned a lot from his podcast. So really Armie Hammer comes from weird stock. And
he's like his character in the Boots Riley movie.
Yes.
What's the
thank you. Oh god.
The one where
Lakeith
Stanfield.
I can't remember it.
He does the calls.
Boots.
Sorry.
It's okay. Sorry to bother you. Sorry to bother you.
He is
Great
his
movie.
character from Sorry to Bother You. And he fell so far that he had to go do the Boll movie. Johnny Depp fell really far, and he got to go do Jeune de Barry, and I think he's gonna be in Pirates 7 like next year.
Yeah.
Like,
so
how many more years does Armie have to like crawl out of the hole?
Well, Armie
before
is
he's just in like a Universal film.
Right now, Armie is just getting back on the horse. He had an interview with Frank Grillo, who we love. Frank Grillo from the Purge franchise and Werewolves, on his podcast.
Do you think Grillo's in the Academy?
I mean, he's in SAG. I don't know if he's in the Academy. What is? Did Grillo get to vote for Best Picture? Did Grillo get to vote for Best Live Action Short?
Yeah, which I saw this weekend.
Yes,
Grillo's one of those guys who's like, you have one job as a voter. What do you mean you didn't watch all the movies? That would be awesome.
Grillo sits down and watches every screener.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He thoughtfully picks, best sound, best cinematography. Yeah. He's a thoughtful voter.
Well, he listens to the sound noms with the image off.
He does.
He does.
Yeah,
he just
really
him and his wife and his family. He just
friend, even to Armie Hammer, because he came on Armie Hammer's podcast and was very encouraging when Armie was talking about getting back on the horse and getting back to acting. It's what I do. It's what I know. It's what I know. is to be on Uwe
Pretending to
Boll's
be
The Dark Knight.
somebody else.
Yes.
That's all I can do.
Well, we have no idea when this movie's coming out, if it will come out. If
it'll come out.
If it's just some, you're going to love, you have to listen to this podcast because he also talks about his relationship with Paramount Plus. And
That sounds really good.
It's really good.
We should have
It's
him
really
on. He should be
good.
our first
Uwe
guest.
Boll would 100% come on movies, baby. Well, look, Uwe, when The Dark Knight gets distribution, whatever that looks like,
Hey, we should distribute
hit us up. Hit us up. Yeah, I mean, if you can't
At
find
Forever Dog.
a distributor, talk to us. Maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can do like an Agro Drift style distribution and just screen it on the
Call us.
walls of gas stations,
City
or
Hall.
something. Yeah, City Hall and gas.
On to City Hall as like a defiant sort of.
Ooh,
We'll get
yes.
press because they'll make us take it down.
Yes, and it's very Dark Knight-esque. It's very like Joker.
Oh, like it's very bat signal.
Yes.
We're gonna bat
Yes.
signal Dark Knight.
We will
onto
screen
City
it
Halls.
in the sky over major cities. It'll be the
Yep.
first like skywriting screening where
We
it'll
could-
just be
you know
sort
what
of
you
in the ether above large cities.
10,000 drones up in the sky form a screen, and
Yes.
then the drones are projecting the Dark Knight.
This is a great
like
idea.
over the city
It's
of
a great
Seattle
idea.
or something, Cincinnati.
Uwe's just like, guys, this is all just a major tax like loophole thing.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
really
yeah.
care how you distribute it.
We'll lose all the money we made.
You can print it on
by
one
marketing
DVD
it.
and send it to your buddy. I don't care.
Okay.
I need this to lose money. And actually, our idea sounds pretty good, and that sounds
We'll
like a
If there's
guaranteed
one
money
thing we
losing
can do
idea.
together is lose money.
Joe, are you ready to start this week's show for real?
Yeah.
Then Margaret, roll that fanfare, please.
Welcome to Movies, Baby, the weekly show where we break down the hottest movie news, review the latest releases, shout out forgotten classics, and prophesy the future of Hollywood. I'm Joe Cilio, a.k.a. the Philly Movie Freak, and I'm joined by my co-host, Brett Boehm, a.k.a. the Georgia Movie Dog.
Go Dogs! We're coming to you live from the San Fernando Valley. I added that into my intro.
I love that.
Right? And this week on Movies,
But I didn't
Baby,
approve it. No, that's okay.
Think about it.
I love
right?
it.
I said,
love it.
you
I
know,
love it.
ask
I love
for
it. I
forgiveness,
love it.
not permission.
I love it.
Bezos, Jeff Bezos. That's right. Amazon now has full creative control of the James Bond franchise. We're going to talk about what that means. Plus, Martin Scorsese finds his new De Niro. And will the Osgood Perkins hype train get a reality check? Or will we say, keep on rolling through the station, full speed ahead, baby. We saw The Monkey. We're going to review it. And we've got a review of the new action thriller, Cleaner. I know you guys are all talking about Cleaner. We're going to tell you what we thought. Then in the second, sorry, you got a Cleaner thought?
Nope. We'll save it. We'll save it till the till the
Save
review.
it. And in the second half of the show, oh baby, you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to pick our top 5 supporting actors of 2024. This is our final awards bonus episode leading up to the Oscars next weekend. And speaking of that, Joe, I believe it's official. We're going to be live streaming the Oscars. Stay tuned for more information about that. Joe and I are going to be with you. You want to watch it with two of your friends? You want to watch it with the dog and the freak? You know you do. So stay tuned for more information about our Oscars live stream, which will be next Sunday in conjunction with the Oscars. And as always, make sure you sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys, where you get the second half of the show. You get video episodes. You get a lot of bonus stuff, fun stuff over there. Sign up. Sign up for the Patreon.
Sign up.
And speaking
Sign
of
up.
money, Margo and Carson, show me the money. And by that, I mean the weekly box office returns, baby. What do we got going on? Wow. Will you look at that?
Bang
Will you
bang.
look at that?
George Niang. Look at that.
Meet the
Number
new boss,
1,
same as the old boss.
Captain America: Brave New World. Brett grossed another $28 million.
Yes, but Joe, look at that drop, though. Look at that drop. Because
Ugly.
before we get to the monkey, I want to talk about the second week of Brave New World. We knew, look, had a big opening last week. Nice big international opening, and so we're cautiously saying, is Marvel back? Have they broken the slump a little bit here? But we also were seeing the bad reviews come in, and we know what happens when there's bad reviews on a Marvel movie is the second week we see a pretty big drop. This happened with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It happened with the Marvels. Marvel's big problem right now is staying power, is they have enough hype and legacy to have a big opening weekend, but their issue is staying power, and unfortunately Captain America: Brave New World did not break that streak because it saw a 68.3% drop in week 2. Now, that's not as bad as the Marvel's 78% drop or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania's 70% drop, although it's pretty close. But it's nowhere clear to what we see with like their hit movies. Deadpool and Wolverine had a 54% drop, but then really kind of had major staying power after that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 48% drop. So this is unfortunately much closer to their recent bombs than to their big hits, and we're unlikely to see this thing right the course, and it's now going to be a pretty long uphill path to profit for this movie.
Yeah, nothing like Deadpool and Wolverine, Brett, which came out for last year for Marvel, which had all the staying power in the world, ended up being one of the year's highest grossers. But you know what that movie had, Brett? Who cares what me and you think? It had good reviews and was beloved by the audience and the fan base.
Yep.
And this Captain America Brave New World, which me and you, not Marvel guys, we thought was all right.
All right.
We gave it 2.5 stars.
2.5 stars was all right.
But for most Marvel heads and for the picture going audience, this thing got an ugly cinema score, ugly fan, whatever excitement. It just didn't really.
It just didn't have any enthusiasm
Didn't
around
get the
it.
kids
No one was saying,
amped.
"Oh, Marvel's back." That was not the that was not the tagline.
No.
And really, looking at Marvel's slate this year, they have Thunderbolts and they have the new Fantastic Four movie. I think they've got to go at least 1 for 3.
They will.
But Captain America to me was what should have been the safe bet. I mean, that is
No,
the most proven.
but like we talked
property
about
of the
last week,
three.
though, like what are we talking about when we talk about losses? And also, this was the second biggest Captain America opening of the 4 Captain America films. But what I'm saying is, you can paint the pictures any which way. And like I said last week, just to reiterate it, I'd rather be Marvel in decline than many other studios in Hollywood right now.
Fair. And speaking of movies powering through a bad cinema score, The Monkey. Even though it didn't hit projections, it was projected to do 17 to 22. It only did 14.2 opening weekend. That is still Neon's second biggest opening ever, behind another Osgood Perkins movie, Longlegs. It's the biggest horror opening of the year so far, and it's a great opening for a movie that only cost $10 million to make. And this is all despite a C+ cinema score, which is a very low cinema score. Usually those cinema scores are.
I'm surprised by that.
It's gauging sort of just general audiences seeing the movie ahead of time, and most people like the movies they go to. A C+ is pretty low for The Monkey.
That's bizarre.
Well, we'll have to wait and see what our reviews are, but to me, it's not. It's pretty indicative of the quality of the movie that Perkins put up on the screen.
But when does that ever affect the cinema score? It's just interesting that people did not like this movie.
True. Well, I think it has to do with expectations. It's
Right.
like when we saw Joker Folie à Deux get
You're
such a
right.
bad
They went to
cinema
go
score.
see Longlegs and they got The Monkey, which is a different flavor.
Very different flavor, and I think like Longlegs was, Neon is really committed to this overhyping the hell out of these Osgood Perkins movies because it works, because all they got to do is win opening weekend. These movies do not cost a lot of money; they just got to win opening weekend. And Neon, from what I was reading, is the envy of the town right now for how little they spend on marketing, how digital first their marketing is, and the results they get. Because these The Monkey only had an under $10 million marketing budget. It felt like the most marketed movie of the year. You couldn't get away. You couldn't escape
know
it.
what Osgood Perkins does so far with his 2 films that maybe it's part of it? I mean, he instantly generates original horror IP of value that's easy to understand, that is exciting and cool. The Monkey. Okay, it's a cursed object movie, and that scary-looking monkey's the bad guy. Longlegs, he's a serial killer. It's Nicolas Cage. He's really weird. Those are I don't know what the word iconic means anymore, but those are totally noticeable horror, quote unquote, icons currently. You don't need to market when inherently the project is so horror sound.
They're a good match for each other.
You know what I mean?
They're a good match for each other, because I think Osgood Perkins is very good at coming up with horror memes, and
That's
I don't
what
even
I mean.
necessarily dismissively mean
ideas.
internet memes. I mean like a cult, like a little artifact, an entity, a trope, right? He's good at horror tropes that instantly feel sort of iconic and also echo past horror, genre moves.
And I don't like either, but Longlegs
Yes.
and The Monkey both evoke a tone and a style immediately.
Yes.
The same style, but tonally,
Yeah.
he's good at here's your horror comedy, here's your monkey, here's your it was so clean, and then you can just go along for the ride. So I bet his third one's going to be called another instantly. And we're saying,
And
it's
coming out this year. You know this?
What? No.
He has another movie coming out in October from Neon.
Slow down,
No,
honey.
because here's the thing.
Pump brakes.
And we'll talk
You
about
ain't
this more when we
Soderbergh.
talk about the movie.
Chill
but,
out, fucker.
He is right now. It's starting to feel like
Chill out.
a con that they are trying to get the most out of before the bubble bursts. Because we have now, because let's be honest, they've kind of sold us a bill. I liked Longlegs. They oversold it. It was not, the scariest movie since Silence of the Lambs or whatever they were telling us. I did not like The Monkey. They way oversold it.
But I know, but
I feel like they're running a little bit of a Ponzi scheme on us, and they're just trying to milk it before the bubble bursts by getting another Osgood Perkins movie out this October.
I hear you, but
I feel like I'm
you call it
taken advantage
Ponzi
of.
scheme. There's also just like a nice brand. I don't think it has. This is a guy that can crank out horror IP originals at low cost. It's like I'd make him make 2 movies a year too.
I understand the
I get
financial
it.
wager
I really
from Neon.
do.
I mean, it's not even a wager. He has their 2 biggest openings
Right.
of all time, but we're seeing diminishing returns though on these movies.
3's a trend. Let's see what he cooks up for 3. Let's see what he cooks up for the 3rd one.
I mean, Longlegs opened over 20. This opened at 14. I'm thinking the next one.
well, maybe next time he pulls like Chalamet's in it. Like maybe next time it's like, oh, Osgood is. Although the Monkey heard his.
But the Monkey would have to have been better. That's why, like, it was.
But
it really feels like they are just gonna milk this for as long as it
Neon's
lasts.
got a team
And
of
it's gonna last one more movie.
producers, and James Wan was involved. Osgood has had 2 hits. Like they're gonna put together a nice little
Soft
package
hits,
for him,
yeah.
and it's gonna have like Andrew Garfield in it, and it's gonna make.
I don't know.
That's a bad
I
example
don't know.
of-
I don't
of
know.
box office
I don't
success.
know if there's
All
gonna
right.
be an Osgood Perkins movie after they see
I
the
want to
Monkey.
be in the Osgood Perkins business, but I don't want my name on the movie because it stinks. No, I actually do. I'm kidding.
Congrats. Last thing I want to talk about in the box office section. Congrats again to Nisa 2, which is now the biggest movie. It's gonna be. There's no movie's gonna be bigger this year. We already have our
No movie's
biggest
gonna
box
be
office
bigger ever, dog.
We
What
never-
are you talking about?
This movie.
Why are you like? I think this one's gonna be up there.
It's just funny.
It's the biggest movie of all time.
When have we ever? We have to go back and look. When has the biggest box office movie of the year wrapped up the game by the end of February? Has that ever
never,
happened?
No movie's ever made.
Has
well,
that
that's
ever
not true.
happened?
3 movies, 4 movies ever
It's
made
the-
$2 billion.
No, it's only it's the 8th biggest movie
Yeah.
of all time right now. 8th biggest movie and still climbing.
And like, just to say it for the 18th time,
yeah.
99% of that money's from just the Chinese market.
Yes, it's only made
That's crazy.
14.9 in the U.S. domestic market. Everything else is
pretty good.
in China, which is amazing. That's actually not bad.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
800 theaters.
Well,
come
that's the kind of because the movie is starting to get some hype. People want to see what this is all about, and it did officially become the biggest animated movie of all time, surpassing Inside Out 2, which had a pretty short-lived reign at the
Yeah,
top of that.
I know.
pyramid.
That's so funny. They probably thought that was going to stand like
that was
10
gonna last
years.
that
That
was
was
until Inside Out 3. I'm
that
sure
was
is
like
what they thought.
Wilt Chamberlain 100-point
sorry,
game.
Nisa 2
Yeah.
has your number.
Hey, don't forget,
baby.
before we move on, I know we're
Yes,
going
please,
a little
please,
slow
please.
today. Unbreakable Boy, the Christian family film starring
Yes.
Zach Levi.
Yes, who claims that he can't get cast in movies anymore, and yet he's in one every 6 months.
He was on Fox News every night this week, every night last week. He's doing so much press. This guy who can't talk and is ostracized from Hollywood is everywhere, and his Christian picture did very well on 1,600 screens with a $2.5 million opening. I hope you like that lane, Zach. That's where you live
That's where you live now.
you piece of shit.
Yeah, you asshole. Also, stop complaining about not getting cast and stuff. You're in a movie every time I turn around.
Imagine
You're in more
being-
movies
yeah.
than Jack Quaid right now, okay?
Right,
Calm
right.
down.
Like that handsome and that dumb, and you still can't figure it out?
Now, later in this episode, we're going to review the movie Cleaner, which we don't see, unfortunately, in the top 10. I think it came in at number
Wow.
15.
I
It had
didn't
a
even
limited
think about
release. It
that.
had a limited release.
Yeah.
The Per Theater was okay. That movie is directed by Martin Campbell, who directed 2 of the best James Bond movies of all time, GoldenEye and Casino Royale. But before we get that, we have some more pressing James Bond news, Joe, because... I'm sure everyone's heard this by now. This was a big headline. This was like This was like in the news headline. Is that Amazon MGM, which is just Amazon, they own MGM, but they kept MGM in there for a little old school Hollywood, legacy magic.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon MGM is now in full creative control of the James Bond franchise moving forward. And before, Joe, I get your take on what that means for the future of the James Bond franchise, I want to give the people a little background on how we got here. Because the James Bond movie franchise, which is the 5th highest grossing movie franchise of all time.
Internationally.
Yes. And I would, look, they count MCU and Spider-Man as 2 separate things. To me, that's one thing. James Bond's number 4. But whatever. However you do it, it's 4th or 5th highest grossing franchise of all time. and it has famously always been a family business. It's always been under very tight control of the Broccoli family, baby, the Broccoli family. Because if you go back to the early 60s, it was a producer named Cubby Broccoli and his partner Harry Saltzman who originally acquired the rights to Ian Fleming's novels. They started producing the Bond movies, starting with Dr. No in 1962 through their production company Eon, and they had United Artists handling the distribution, which will be important as we go along. And with all due respect to Harry Saltzman, who ended up selling his shares in 1975, this has been the Broccoli family business since the beginning up until the present day, starting with Cubby, and then it passed to his daughter Barbara Broccoli and his stepson Michael G. Wilson when he passed away in 1996. And Barbara Broccoli did a hell of a job. She shepherded it through the Daniel Craig era, some of the high points of the entire franchise. So this has been a successful family business all along. So how did Amazon enter the picture? How did they weasel their way into this family business? Well, it all started when MGM, to go back a little bit, MGM bought United Artists in 1981, and that was following the Heaven's Gate fiasco, which basically, put United Artists out of business, and MGM bought them on the cheap. And then MGM changed corporate hands and corporate owners 10 times until it was finally bought by Amazon in 2022, because Amazon was looking to make themselves a player in the movie business. And what's the best way to do that? Well, you buy a back catalog. You buy a legacy studio with a back catalog that has IP. They really bought MGM for James Bond, right, Joe? That was like the main move there. They wanted control of James Bond. They wanted their own potential sort of big cinematic franchise. That's why they bought MGM, and that's why they were willing to pretty significantly overpay for MGM. It was valued at $3.5 to $4 billion. They bought it for $8.5 billion dollars. Yes, MGM. But it wasn't enough. It turns out it wasn't enough to just get ownership of the James Bond IP. They were not happy with the pace that the Broccoli's go at, particularly when you're changing Bonds. It's very normal. There was 6 years in between Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan. There was 4 or 5 years in between Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig. The Broccoli's modus operandi has always been quality control. Just some old-fashioned, sort of British, just we're going to do this the proper way. We're going to take our time. We're going to make sure the product is good. And all of that. Amazon's we need a fucking TV show, and we need merch, and we need to blow this thing out fast because we spent $8.5 million on this, and you're not moving fast. $1 billion, thank you. And you're not moving fast enough. So they just, the news came out last week. Amazon paid an additional $1 billion, and surely that includes a bunch of stock and stuff, but they paid an additional $1 billion to get full creative control over the franchise moving forward. So it's not just that they own it and the Broccoli's get to decide the direction of the franchise. Now Bezos et al. Owns the creative control, the future of Bond. Joe, what is the reason for Amazon's urgency here? And then also, what does this mean for the future of the James Bond franchise, in your opinion?
The urgency comes from the fact that IP ownership dominates value assessment of studios and companies. But additionally, Brett, the license for James Bond goes up in 10 years. What I'm saying is, in 10 years... Ian Fleming's famous character James Bond is in the public domain. So me and you and Uwe Boll could make one with no problems at all.
Get ready for Uwe Boll's GoldenEye.
We could make a James Bond.
Now, the one asterisk on that I was reading was that will not include anything that was specifically made for the movies. So a lot of the iconic cinematic aspects, like the score, the gun barrel, things like that are not going to become IP. But it's the same thing that we saw with Steamboat Willie and I don't know, what was it, Winnie the Pooh and all these other characters that have become IP. Surely we're going to get a lot of trash B movies with James Bond in them, which will be a lot of fun. But Amazon certainly is on the clock to make the most of this investment while they can.
Well, I'm just saying that's why they wanted to push their chips in the table now rather than in 3 years. It's just diminishing returns because, yes, you own the IP for 10 years. Who knows what kind of chicanery they could pull in public domain law in those 10 years. But also, Brett's point, obviously it's more important to buy the catalog and all of the songs and all of the costumes and the history. And, of course, you want to buy the asset, but it's just that's why they were on the clock.
Yeah.
Additionally, urgency. When you think about the marketplace and you think about Disney. Now Disney has Star Wars, they have Marvel, they have
They got
fucking
Fox
Disney
stuff. They got Alien.
They got Alien, they got
everything
Planet of the
now.
Apes.
They got everything now.
They got it for days. What's Amazon have? I was just laying in bed last night honestly thinking, like, what IP does Amazon own? I'm sure they own like this, that, and the other, but like listen, top of your head, like, okay, Lord of the Rings. They made a Lord of the Rings show. I don't know if they own the IP or whatever. They got licensing to make Lord of the Rings TV show and content, but I don't think of Amazon as like a hub for major IP.
No.
And if you want to play in this game, the game of being one of the top 5 studios in 2025,
You need a franchise.
honey, you got to have
You
a
need
franchise. And Bond's a cool franchise, Brett. I
great
don't know if I paid
franchise.
$9.5 billion for the right to run James Bond into the ground. Seems a little steep. Like, what's the blend of TV shows, movies, podcasts, T-shirts that can yield them $10 billion?
Yeah.
You know, so they make $0.5 billion in profit.
Because
on
the actual
James Bond.
movies
Yeah.
are always going to be the highest. So anything they spin off presumably would be a lower grossing project. Because nothing like the big movies with James Bond is always going to be the highest grossing thing. So, but they're thinking like in the aggregate, if we can do, like John Wick has done, if we start spinning off with different characters, if Bond girls get their own series, if Bond villains get their, what about a Bond villain Suicide Squad? This is what everyone at Amazon headquarters is doing right now. I want you to make this into Star Wars, Harry Potter. I want you to blow this franchise out.
This is why the
doesn't
Broccoli's.
have the
This is why the
legs.
Broccoli's hated working with Amazon. So why sell? And yes, money's great, but why sell? Well, Barbara Broccoli's producing partner, he is almost 83, 84, and he wants to go sit on a beach and die. And here's the thing that Barbara Broccoli, the genius, realized: you can either make your money now or just get consumed by time and fire.
Yeah, Barbara Broccoli does not want to be getting calls from Amazon every Monday
No,
morning.
but Brett, what I'm also saying is, like, Barbara Broccoli might. This is a little cynical, but like she just understands the writing on the wall. Whether or not she sells, like, Amazon owns James Bond, like, in 5 years or in 10 years, because just the inertia of money and power and IP and Hollywood and tech. She's just said. Also, like, her asset is going to diminish because the big James Bond movie once every 3 years. That's just going to follow the trend of every other theatrical distribution release ever. And maybe the first one with Josh O'Connor does really well or
It's
whatever.
Not gonna be Josh O'Connor. There's no way Amazon paid that
No,
much money
no,
for a
no.
Josh O'Connor
Well, now it's Amazon,
Bond.
whatever. So now, like, The Rock is the James Bond or whatever. And I just, like,
And honestly, no
Barbara's
shade
like,
to Barbara. No shade to Barbara.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like,
no shade to
I
Barbara.
whip out 3 more Bonds in the next 10, 15 years of my working life. Now Barbara Broccoli has like a fucking war chest of $1 billion.
Yeah.
She's still a producer. She's still alive. If she wants to go make a movie, she can make whatever the fuck she wants. Make something beautiful. She likes beautiful things.
Yeah.
She made Till, that movie about Emmett Till that came out last year, 2 years ago. And Amazon just let her did that because she's fucking Barbara Broccoli and it made James Bond. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. They're not going to make a shit ton of money on Till, but now she can go make a bunch of good movies.
She's free.
She's free.
And I'd like to say, also, like, you did it, baby. It's like the Daniel Craig run was incredible. You went out on top. I also love that she, spoiler alert, she kills Bond in No Time to Die, right? So it's like she really kind of put this stamp on, like, she kind of killed the franchise almost symbolically with that last Daniel Craig movie. She knew what was going to happen, and she said, okay, anything that happens next is like not on the Broccoli's. The Broccoli's did it, baby. We did it for 60 fucking years, and now we're gonna sell, and we're gonna,
it's notable,
take Till and
though.
live on a beach.
It's notable, Brett, and it's sad though in a way
I know.
because
It's changing,
I think people got affected by it because Bond,
a
classy franchise handled well, the core of which is movies or books, but fuck books, obviously movies, and
it sucks to have Bezos own
it just
another
sucks
thing.
to have Amazon
Bezos
own
owns
it,
another thing.
and they're gonna run it into the ground, and that's life.
Can I hit you with one? And look, I don't want to be pro tech, pro Bezos here. Can I hit you with one possible upside here? Okay.
I love James Bond, so I would like some upside.
Because,
James Bond's cool.
Anytime, I like how tightly this family controlled this franchise, just because it's so different than every other franchise. But there are some limitations to that as well. Maybe they were a little too precious about the material, because one thing that they were resistant to over the years is there were big major directors who wanted to take a swing at a Bond. Tarantino, Christopher Nolan famously wants to do a Bond, and the Broccoli's were always resistant because they would not give those directors full creative control over the project, and they're not going to, Christopher Nolan's not going to do a movie if he doesn't have full creative control. So now,
heard.
I wonder if Amazon is going to be more conducive. They are less precious about the material. Maybe we get a Christopher Nolan Bond movie.
The only problem with that plan is timing.
Yeah.
Because he's shooting the Odyssey now. That'll be in theaters in 26. That whole
He's
thing.
spoken for like 2 years.
He probably has another thing. Like, I wonder if you wouldn't see that Bond for 5 years.
Yeah.
I also wonder what's Amazon going to do about theatrical distribution, and how is auteurs like of Christopher Nolan's size going to navigate theatrical and streaming and
Right.
tech and
True.
over the next 5 years. I'm not trying to throw cold water on that super fun
It's
idea.
just one upside, one possible
I just
upside
can't-
for movie
I just
lovers.
can't- I just
for
can't-
movie lovers.
I just
okay?
can't
We gotta
get-
take what we
I
can
can't
get.
get too excited.
We gotta take what we can get.
And by the way, Christopher Nolan already made his Bond film. It's called Tenet, and you can
Okay,
check it out
okay.
anytime.
Now, we will get an indication, I think a big indication of where Amazon's going to go with the franchise when we find out who the next freaking Bond is. That's kind of what all this is waiting on. Jeff Bezos tweeted out, "Who do you guys want to see as the next Bond?"
And the internet just
said Henry Cavill.
Anthony Anderson. What if like the 700 he was like, what? There was just like a lot of caged up
Anderson
energy.
Hive just
Anthony
stood
Anderson!
up loud and proud. Now, the people's champ right now is Henry Cavill. He was getting the most votes. It seems like a basic choice, which seems
look,
probably
Cavill
gonna
would be
Amazon's
awesome.
choice.
But
Yeah, it's a safe choice. We're of course always the Idris Elba, dream is
I know,
always
it's-
out there.
But
It's
he's
not-
now
it's not-
he
doesn't want to
said
do
no
it.
1,000
Yes.
times. He's too old. even
Michael
though he-
Fassbender, no.
Why
Tom
not?
Hardy, no. I just don't think they would do it at
Hardy?
this point.
Hardy's Bond is like Bond, James Bond, I think a martini stirred.
Blofeld. Aaron Taylor Johnson would jump at the chance. I'm
Yeah,
sure
no shit.
he's like
But
sending
no,
100
he's
self-tapes.
the guy that he's the famous bouncing ball. Like he
Yeah.
is the piece they've been holding up for so long. He's
Yeah.
never going to actually get it.
He's not going to do it. He's not going to
Harris
do it.
Dickinson over my dead body.
Dickinson floated in there somehow.
Why? Like why? Because he's young and
He's
white?
so wispy.
Yeah,
He
fuck
can
off.
Squeeze
He's not
in
gonna be
between
James
door cracks.
Bond. Fuck you.
All right, one more news item before we move on to our reviews, Joe, because if you think James Bond and Jeff Bezos make for strange bedfellows, wait until you hear who's starring in Martin Scorsese's possible next movie. It's none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Joe. That's right. Last week, rumors started to percolate that this Scorsese project was getting pitched around to major studios and streamers, and there was a big bidding war that erupted, which is surprising because there's all these Scorsese projects in production, and so it's like, wait, there's a bidding war over another Scorsese project? This thing must be fire. And sure enough, listen to this. Set in Hawaii in the 60s and 70s, it's about an aspiring mob boss, The Rock, who fights rival crime factions for control of the underworld of the Hawaiian Islands. The elevator pitch is Goodfellas in Hawaii. It also has Leonardo DiCaprio and Emily Blunt attached. Of course, there's a freaking bidding war for this thing. It sounds amazing. Reports say Netflix is in the lead right now. They, of course, partner with Scorsese on The Irishman. Apple's also bidding. They distributed Killers of the Flower Moon. Amazon's in there, too. I'm sure they would love a piece of this. And I kind of had forgotten how much, with all the, people getting, the big directors getting mad about Netflix's streaming-only response, this and that, theaters, we want movies in theaters. I'd forgotten how little Scorsese gives a shit about theatrical distribution. He's been with the streamers for a while now, and I was reading his big priority is he just wants the budget. He wants a big-ass production budget. He wants to make the movie he wants to make, and he doesn't give a fuck where you screen this thing.
He wants slow days. Lots of personnel, big actors, and
Big
he wants
espresso
$200 million.
budget, big
That's how
espresso line item.
Scorsese these days. He's like, you give me $200 million, I'll make you a movie. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You're gonna get mad at the guy that created the World Film Foundation or whatever because he wants to make a big movie instead of being a 90-year-old man making his 700th Roger Corman Boxcar Bertha. He is one of the 3 guys in the world that has the opportunity to get the financing for these pictures late in his life, and he doesn't have to go back to the Mike Lee, Francis Ford Coppola school of figure it out. Fucking take the money and run, bitch. I can't wait to see this movie.
We can't all be Kevin Costner. We can't all be Coppola, unfortunately. I like that Scorsese just says, give me the money so I can make the movie I want to make and get out of my way.
No.
What, are you going to argue with The Irishman or Killers of the Flower
Hey,
Moon?
Scorsese, you're not caring about the art form. Are you joking?
Yeah, sorry.
Come on.
And look, it'll still get a theatrical release, a symbolic one probably, so just make sure you see it during the symbolic theatrical release, I guess.
And you know what? Go back to Netflix because he made his last masterpiece with Netflix at The Irishman, a perfect 5-star film.
Yeah. But even after a deal gets made, who knows how soon we'll see this movie? Because listen to this, Joe. In addition to these long gestating Scorsese projects, we got his Sinatra biopic starring Leonardo DiCaprio. We got the even longer gestating Devil in the White City, which I heard 2 weeks ago was like back on with Leo in it.
Yeah, it is.
There's like a
apparently.
Life of Christ movie he's working on. Apparently, he wants to adapt a Marilyn Robinson novel called Home, which I loved. Like
Cool.
our greatest, like I don't know if Marilyn Robinson's still alive, but one of the great recent American novelists. I love Scorsese taking a crack at that. There's a Grateful Dead biopic in there. Of course, his Italian Shipwrecks documentary.
Dude, well, obviously that's in pole position.
And then he produced his Saints' Lives for Fox Nation.
He does.
So,
and the first 3 are out. If you have Fox Nation, you can watch. And then Brett, if you have Fox Nation. But wait, Brett, you also forgot. But like, wasn't he gonna do for a long time? He was gonna do The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt with Leo as well.
That's right.
That might have been
That's
officially
right.
canned.
I don't know if
They come so strong.
They come so strong, and they
Scorseses.
float in and out,
uh-huh.
and he's got this constantly moving stable. The issue, though, because presumably he would want to do this like immediately funded Hawaiian Goodfellas first. The problem is that Leo is like spoken for the next year because he's shooting Damien Chazelle's new movie in the summer.
Evel
and then,
Knievel.
and then he's gonna. Oh, I cannot wait. And then he's gonna be doing press for the PTA movie all through like the fall and award season probably. And so, this movie, the earliest it could shoot would be next year. So I'm thinking, Scorsese, knock something, like put this on the schedule for next year. Knock something out this year, baby. Do the fucking Marilyn Robinson novel.
Do
the Marilyn Robinson.
Do Life of Christ.
Oh,
Please do Life
God.
of Christ.
I did Last Temptation of Christ. We need to do the Marilyn Robinson novel. Come on, I want to see what that is. I want to see what you're.
I want old Scorsese doing Christ. I want it so bad that I will cut off my pinky finger if you want me to, Scorsese, to get it done.
Well, Joe's an Opus Dei, though, so take everything he says with a grain of salt. All right. Next up, we're going to review this week's new releases. And while we do try to avoid any major plot spoilers in our reviews, it's impossible to give an honest review of these stinking movies without talking about them in their entirety. So if you're reviewing a movie that you don't want spoiled in the least, not even a little bit, if you don't want to know even a little bit of what happens in The Monkey, all right, then just take a look at the screen if you're following along. We got graphics there. You can look at the show notes. They'll tell you when we're doing what movie when, and you can rejoin us when you feel comfortable doing so. We're going to start with The Monkey, written and directed by Osgood Perkins, based on the 1980 short story by Stephen King. DP was Nico Aguilar. It was distributed, of course, by Neon, like we said. It stars Theo James, Tatiana Maslany,
and a bunch of other nobodies, too.
Elijah Wood's in
I'm
there.
just kidding.
Adam Scott has a little cameo.
I don't know why I said that. There's a lot of good actors
Its plot
in it.
follows twin brothers whose lives are turned upside down by a cursed toy monkey that causes random, horrific deaths all around them, and they just can't get rid of this damn monkey. Joe is our resident horror correspondent. Why don't you kick us off and tell us what you thought of Osgood Perkins' follow-up to Longlegs, The Monkey?
I thought it could have been a lot better. Here's some things that I liked about The Monkey. The Monkey has a lot of really good things going for it. First of all, it's based on a Stephen King novel or a short story or whatever. So this isn't like inherent in Stephen King adaptations, because some Stephen King can be bad and some adaptations are bad. And I'm not a giant Stephen King like devotee or anything, but Stephen King writes a well-structured story. That's like his thing. So The Monkey has a really nice sort of backbone insofar as plot goes. There's nothing wildly creative about a haunted object movie, right? Or like a Monkey's Paw-esque sort of movie, or some sort of, scary artifact that can do bad. And I love that kind of movie. We don't get them all the time. Talk to Me was very successful recently as one of those pictures. But, so The Monkey as an icon was scary and good. Theo James as an actor was bouncy and fun. He also played twins in this movie, which I think is endlessly always fun. Even though his like twin brother part, he was like bad at acting or whatever. Like Theo,
what was that twin brother?
Okay,
I
like
that
twins.
like steampunk trickster at the end that showed up. Who
Theo
was that?
Theo can't do two characters, but he does play two characters in this movie, and I like that. So for the first 30 minutes, Brett, I was worried I'd have to sort of change my mind about Osgood. I was like, for the first 30 minutes, I was like, getting over myself a lot, where I was, it's very
you were
like
getting the apology letter.
It was
ready
very
to go.
like funny or
You were licking the
whatever.
quill.
So I was like, all right, this is gonna be funny. So just deal with that. I'm like, okay, so all right, it's funny. All right. So I put that to the side, and I just let it do its thing, and I was interested. Osgood Perkins himself pops up in the movie, which is a huge red
And
flag
not just
for
a
me.
cameo, not just a cameo.
No, but you know what though? Like
Yeah.
ultimately though, it is a cameo, and it was really funny when they cut. So here's the thing: Osgood Perkins' is cameo. He plays like a big sideburns. He puts himself right on camera. He gives himself some big old lines. He flubs. He does like mediocre acting, and then his character sort of dies.
Funniest death. I think the funniest
It-
death of
it
all
was
the deaths.
so funny.
Very
and
funny.
you know what? I like him more because of that.
Wow.
I like you
Not
more,
the review I was
Osgood.
expecting. You're warming this cold dead heart, Osgood.
I thought I wasn't into it, and then when he died so abruptly and
Yeah.
funnily, I was like,
Yeah.
that was really funny, and I liked it very
Yeah.
much. Okay, so the kills in this movie, the monkey decides to kill somebody, and then the person sort of explodes. I will say, every single time somebody exploded, I essentially laughed. It was funny every time because it wasn't just like a explosion. Sometimes there was like limbs and stuff, and the best one is when the lady jumps in the
Oh, yeah,
pool,
yeah.
and then there's it's perfectly paced, the correct number of seconds later, just her leg just swings up against over his
She gets
head or
electrocuted
whatever.
in the pool. It's in the trailer.
And
It's in the
it was
trailer.
cracked me up. So every time the kill, the Looney Tunes kill happened at the end of the Rube Goldberg machine of the kill, I laughed every time because it was funny every time. But now the problems.
Uh-oh. List them.
I thought about being mad first and foremost at the DP. I thought first and foremost about asking for his head.
He's new. He's new. Give him a break.
Well, listen, man, when you watch The Monkey, you are sucked right back into Longlegs. So tonally, the script is different and the characters are different, and now we're doing bouncy, funny Looney Tunes horror, but the camera hasn't changed at all. It's this miserable, soft focus, centered person nonsense. And for the first 30 minutes, I liked every third shot. Like in Longlegs, every third shot, I was like, whoa. Too much soft focus, too stylish, so dumb, fucking cover up, con artist bullshit, but handsome. And in the Monkey, I was like, oh, this is a handsome shot. That's a handsome shot. But then once you sort of get 20 minutes in and then it keeps going, this thing loses all compositional sort of ideas, and then they're just rushing to get this fucking movie done and just shooting it so boring, so stupid, and so exactly the same as Longlegs. Now it's not a style. Now you're just a con artist because for the first three acts of Longlegs, okay, first act of Monkey, okay. Now I'm on my fifth act of you doing the same thing with the camera of your movies. I'm done with you. You stink. Then I got off of the DP because I said, you know who's actually to fucking blame?
Yeah.
I'm going to point my finger at who I actually am mad at. The director.
There we go.
Osgood Perkins.
Point that finger where it
Do
belongs.
you know what the worst part of The Monkey was by far? Is that this director wasn't up to the task. The screenwriter, which he wrote. You wrote this script based on a Stephen King short story. I like your script. I thought it was funny. I liked it. It's not like it's radically inventive or it's a fucking masterpiece, but it was totally funny and good. All the acting, totally fine. The kills, funny. The story, good. But man, you can't edit for shit, Osgood. Act 2 and Act 3, the pacing gets so deplorable, just trudging along, trying to finish it, just praying to get to the next kill. So painful. Just being I'm funny. It's dude, just wrap it up. You suck at directing. Just write, just do little cameos. You're very stylish. Financially, I would invest, but this movie just got bad, and by the end, I was like, this was all right. I don't want to be a hater. It's not it's some piece of shit. I've seen a piece of shit. It's not a piece of shit. It's not Wolfman. It's not fucking Hard Eyes. It's just not good. And for Neon, my guys, they make Palme d'Or winners. So now they're making The Monkey, which is cool because now they're profitable and now we get to watch more Neon movies, and that's good. But I get it. This world is impossible, but it's just so tough to be here's Anatomy of a Fall, and then it's hey, here's The Monkey.
Yeah, it just wasn't ready for prime
sucks,
time.
man.
It wasn't ready for prime time, and that's what makes it so confusing that they're rushing this thing out in the wake of Longlegs. And I guess they're trying to capitalize on the Osgood Perkins thing, but man, you don't want to you got a thing going. You don't want to burn it out with half-baked movies. This thing ultimately just did not feel like it was ready for distribution. It felt like it needed the script needed another pass, the editing needed another edit, et cetera, et cetera. Because Joe, I agree with a lot of what you said. I thought the kills were fun and creative. I loved how just like blunt they all were, and I loved how kind of like the kills, like as even though they're going for comedy, the kills were kind of getting under my skin because of how sort of everyday and feasible they are. You know, it's like AC unit falling into a pool, a gun falling over in a cabinet. You know, it's like an accident with a gas stove. These are like real things that could happen. And when I was driving home from Longlegs, we put a little we like have a little gate we pull across the driveway so that Sandy can play in the driveway, and it was closed. So I had to like at 12:30 at night with my like headlights illuminating the gate, I had to get out and like open the gate. And I was just standing there. I was like, this is like the situation that people in the Monkey are in when they like die horribly. It's just like these like everyday situations of like trying to do a task and then just something horribly goes wrong.
Look,
and then your body explodes and your head's like 50 yards down that way.
Credit for funny death.
I really,
I laughed a
yes,
bunch.
Yes. And, you know, I also, like you said, I like the central premise. I really liked the monkey. Whatever production designer, whoever did the monkey, kudos. You did a hell of a job. Every time that monkey's mouth goes kapwing, and you
Looks
see
so
it's like
good.
teeth bared.
I agree.
And then and when it starts beating the drum, you know someone's body's going to explode.
Yeah.
And then so when it's coming down, and then it starts.
Oh, I
going
like
to
when
drums.
if you didn't crank it long enough, like its eyes got like super like, bloodshot as if it like
Yes.
hadn't drank in
Yes.
water in forever.
Yes.
Like
I
good.
loved everything about the monkey.
I
The monkey
agree.
was scary and funny and just looked cool. Great horror.
I agree.
I like if the movie was better, we could be looking at like a iconic horror.
I know.
artifact.
Where do
It's
I
really,
invest?
The monkey was
Yes,
so
yes,
good.
yes.
The problem is, the big problem for me was that the comedy did not work overall. The movie. The kills were very funny. Everything in between the kills, the comedy was not working.
Yes.
The sort of funny dialogue was not working. And look, I don't mind. If I'm watching a horror movie and they're trying to be funny and they're not, 9 times out of 10, I can just ignore it and it becomes sort of like part of the kitschy fun of it all. In this movie, the effect of the movie is so dependent on the comedy working that because it doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. Because a lot of these scenes are like, the logic of them is almost like farce. Like a lot of these scenes, like the scenes themselves are like closer to Anchorman than they are to a horror movie. Like the comedy is like inherent in the like fiber of the movie.
It's a comedy.
It's
but
a
he's
comedy.
just shooting it like Longlegs and editing it like a doofus.
It's so weird.
So it doesn't work.
And it's like, and I don't think
None
he
of the
realizes
comedy
that like
works.
comedy like takes time to hone. Like to make comedy seem effortless and funny, like you need to be like rehearsing the comedy and doing takes and doing alts and like figuring out the jokes. And it feels like he just thought the script was funny and just shot the script, and the script wasn't funny. And so we were
the
left
editor, sorry editor, maybe this isn't true, but just like didn't edit for the like we shot
Yes.
we didn't shoot comedy, we didn't edit for comedy, but the script is comedy and the actors are being funny. So it was so like not correct.
And there was like the kills got big responses in my theater. People were cracking up at all the kills.
Definitely.
In between the kills, there were so many moments where I was
Crickets.
like, "Hey guys, that was supposed to be a joke," and
Yeah,
it's just like
it's tough.
crickets
Tough.
and like crickets because the jokes are just not working. The sort of quippy dialogue is not quipping hard enough, or like sort of in a understandable way. There was a lot of things where I was like, what was that joke? I don't even know what was going on there. And so there was a lot of that, and unfortunately because of that, the bottom like fell out of the movie for me, and it was really just like, can we get to the next funny kill, please? Because all this in-between stuff is ridiculous. The brother dynamic is ridiculous. The like twin brother who is like some sort of like,
He was like a crazy guy that lived in a crazy haunted house. Like it should have been like Osgood knew that it should have been good, and he was right. It should have been
There's
good.
a lot of stuff that he just borrowed wholesale from like 80s horror movies. Like
Yeah.
that twin brother is a character straight out of 80s horror movies.
No,
Like,
I've seen that work.
the wacky, it's almost like Christian Slater and Heathers, you know, like the
Mhm.
wacky outcast who's in his like
Yeah.
little dungeon basement, and he's the one pulling all the strings because he has a vendetta against society, or like it was very much out of an 80s movie. But like you can't just pull wholesale Osgood. You need to do like your version of it, and you need it to make sense, and you need it to be funny and stand on its own. And I also felt a lot of like the stuff he was doing with the kids was pulled wholesale out of 80s movies, but had none of the charm of those 80s movies. So I thought just a lot of the characters were done poorly, the jokes were not executed, and as a result, this is a movie where you're just waiting for the next funny kill and just hoping this movie's
Yeah.
going to wrap
Yeah,
up
I
soon,
know.
which it does. It's not a long movie. God
No,
bless.
it's just a wasted opportunity.
So I don't know. Right now, Osgood Perkins is directing like he thinks the Repo Man's going to show up and take his camera away. We got another one coming out in October. I don't know what the rush is to get these things out. I don't like. I really feel like Neon thinks thinks they're sitting on a bubble and they're just going to milk it till the bubble bursts. But I don't understand that strategy. I think if you gave this movie like another 6 months to a year, you might have been able to come up with something better that like built the hype and furthered the hype and started to build. Because like you needed this movie to be better than Longlegs. Because like Longlegs got you the little following. There's a lot of people that like Longlegs. I thought it was pretty good, but like now you needed this one to be better, to like advance the hype, to pay off the hype. And instead, now everyone's saying like, "Oh, I think this guy ain't got it."
Perkins needs a Barbara Broccoli.
Perkins needs a Barbara Broccoli. You need someone at Neon to usher you. Neon's kind of selling you out right now, Osgood.
That's true.
The second you have a movie open under 10 million, wait and see if they stop answering your calls, okay? And it's going to be the next one because that's where we're trending right now. 22, 14. What's next? 8. I'm saying the next one opens at 8, and then Neon stops picking up those phone calls, baby, and then you're on Shudder the next week.
I agree with this.
God bless Shudder.
We're always pro Neon. We're always we're always anti Osgood. No. This is pro Osgood. Dude, they see something good and they are working you to death. Tell them no, you're busy and you have writer's block. Don't be such a good little director. You have writer's block. You need to think about it some more. Be a little more ornery. Get your way. Slow down. Tell James Wan, I respect you, but you can't talk to me like that.
Osgood, I know you love doing Q&As at the Vista, okay? That can't be the reason you direct movies is to do the Q&As at the special screenings, okay? That can't be the reason you direct movies. You got to direct for the movie itself. The Q&As will be there, and they'll be even better when you come up with a good movie for people to ask questions about. All right, I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was bad.
I gave it 2 I gave it 2.5 stars.
Good.
I thought it was all right, and I was disappointed. I gave Longlegs 3.5. I thought it was really good. This one I thought was all right.
All right, let's quickly talk about the Cleaner. I keep wanting to call it The Cleaner. It's just Cleaner.
I keep wanting to call it like 7 different things. Like talk about a terrible title.
Yeah.
And when you search, like talk about SEO nightmare. Showtime's Cleaner Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like you're fucked. You're not finding the Showtimes.
Yeah.
It's a tough word
this
to search.
needed a better title. It probably needed a lot of better things, but let's talk about it. It was directed by Martin Campbell, who like we said, directed the 2 of the best Bond movies of all time. You could argue the 2 best Bond movies of all time, Casino Royale and GoldenEye. He also did the Antonio Banderas Zorro movies, Respect.
He's the man.
But he also did, I was looking at his filmography, and I was like, what happened here? He did the 2011 Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern, and if you look at his filmography, that dude has not gotten his mojo back. It's like Luka Doncic on the Lakers right now. Like something shook his confidence with that Green Lantern movie. He has not gotten his confidence back. He has been doing, what would have been probably like straight-to-video action movies since then. He's done one with Jackie Chan, Liam Neeson, Maggie Q, Ava Green. He's just been sort of going through. And then Cleaner is just another one. But, man, kind of a fall from grace from the guy who made Casino Royale.
That's scary.
Green Lantern fucked him up, I think.
Yeah.
Because you go on Wikipedia, you can watch the trajectory of the filmography just falls off the face of the earth after Green Lantern, which I hate. Why did Ryan Reynolds get to be famous and this guy's still dealing with like the PTSD of making Green Lantern? Ryan Reynolds apparently is sleeping at night. So here's what happens in this movie. When activists take over an energy company's annual gala held in Canary Wharf in London. I always love a Canary Wharf movie. That's London's Wall Street. Some more radical members of their group take hostages and threaten to blow up the building. A dishonorably discharged but highly trained ex-soldier who works as the window cleaner, that's Daisy Ridley from Star Wars, attempts to save the hostages when she learns one of them is her older brother. It's like Die Hard if John McClane was a window cleaner.
It's not like Die Hard. Be clear with the folks at home.
It's like Uwe Boll's Die Hard.
It is Die Hard. Like, not kind of. They are at like a company Christmas party.
Yes.
The bad guys come in.
Is it Christmas?
What? No.
It's some sort of...
They're at like a company...
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it was exactly like the same thing in Die Hard. They're at like that kind of a party.
Yes.
They're all standing around in their office building wearing end-of-year clothes,
Yes.
drinking and celebrating. Guys with masks come in... And then Clive Owens, Alan Rickman, and they just do Die Hard, and Daisy Ridley is John McClane.
It's Die Hard if like John McClane, like if they can never figure out a way to get him in the building.
She does hang outside in the lower. She's looking through like the bottom of a big window the entire movie.
She is on one of those window cleaning what are they like what would you call it?
A platform you stand on with ropes that go up and down, like on the Empire State Building. Okay,
for 80 minutes of this 90-minute
and she's
runtime.
just looking in, and she's just yelling at everyone inside, like, stop, or like, look behind you.
Yes,
Or
her
like that.
her special ops training really doesn't come into play until about the last like 2 minutes.
Okay, all right.
Otherwise,
You're
she's
gonna-
just like yelling to people on the ground, and then inside, she's basically just sort of trying to like narrate what's going on to other people who are in a position to help and make a difference in this situation.
Do you? Okay, tell me your review of the movie.
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
What
I'm
did-
gonna go
yeah,
first.
Tell
Okay,
me
yeah.
about
because
like.
I did not.
Did you follow? Like,
Look.
why was she special ops or was she a window cleaner? And when did those two things like converge? And when did she stop being one and become the other? Because you think she's a spy, and then it's sort of like a cute, like, what? Actually, she's a window cleaner. And then
Yeah.
I was like, wait. But then at a certain point in the movie, I was like, I think she is actually a spy.
She's not a spy. She was. I mean, they don't really get into special ops that much. They just talk about how she was in the army and she was like discharged, but she was actually really good at being in the army. But they don't get into whole. Look, this movie is very.
All right, you do your thing. Do your
This movie
thing.
is very
Do your thing.
half-heartedly made.
I'm
It-
mad
it
about
is
that. I hate
very.
this- I don't hate
It
it.
is
I'm mad
very.
about it.
It is very sort of lazily put together in terms of the plot, in terms of the script. But here's things I liked
Tell
about
me.
it. I thought Daisy Ridley was really good in this. I was surprised. I know that she has sort of been floating around between genres and types of movies in Star Wars, kind of looking for a career path forward. I actually think this is a really natural fit for her. I think like sort of mid-tier, mid-budget action thrillers could be a really nice lane for her to
Ouch.
stay in for a while. Not at all. Not at all. Now I'll tell you why. Because we just saw Zoe Saldana move from that lane into art house award season contention with Emilia Perez. I think Zoe Saldana has paved a very interesting path for I think particularly actresses who they're in something big early on and then they're struggling to find what the next thing is going to be. Don't overlook this sort of action thriller mid-tier path, because as Zoe's proved, you can circle your way back into the big movies by just putting in the work and being like a professional and working on the craft and just working on being a working actor in these movies. And then when Emilia Perez comes along, Zoe Saldana was just so confident in Emilia Perez, and I think that comes from just being a working actor who's really not sweating it at this point.
Incredible point.
So I think, look, I'm just saying. I think
No, incredible
look,
point.
the problem is I'm making this point about Cleaner.
No.
Which is
Which
is not it.
No, you're saying Daisy Ridley was good in it, and you like her as an action star, and I
yes,
agree.
because I think she
agree.
has like a really good arsenal of skills for this kind of movie, where she can do the action, she
Yeah.
could do the family drama with the brother,
Yeah.
and she pulled off like I'm a working stiff, I'm
Yeah.
I'm one of the people.
That was tough.
She pulled off the 3 John McClane things.
She's good at.
Yeah.
She's good in the movie, and I have no problems with Daisy in the movie.
But look,
Except
Martin Campbell really just never came back from Green Lantern, because this movie is like really phoned in at every level. I'm sure they didn't have a huge budget. I'm sure that's why they couldn't get Daisy Ridley in the building at any point, and just had her on like a window cleaner platform against a green screen for most of this movie.
she spends like Act 2
Um,
like trying to like make a hole in the window.
Oh, gosh.
Like a lot of that. She's like, I gotta
Joe,
get into the. I gotta make.
that's
She
so
makes a little
fun-
hole.
that's
She's like, hey.
That's so funny, because she asks like one of the snipers on a opposite building, like, hey, can you like shoot this window out so I can get in the building? They shoot 3 bullets in the window, and I'm like, okay, she's gonna get in the building now. She then spends the next like 2 times we cut back to her, she's just going duh, 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 and she's trying to break this window through. I'm like,
like,
guys, just
Turn
just
around
break
and
the
go,
window.
shoot it again.
Shoot it again. You didn't do it hard. You didn't shoot it enough times. But look, this movie was like, I have to write a 5-page essay and I only have 3 pages of content. I gotta play with the margins. I gotta play with the font size. So they had to
After
burn
a period,
some
I'm
clock.
putting 2 spaces.
They had to,
Remember
they had
that?
to burn some
Yeah.
clock, so it takes Daisy a while to
Uh-huh.
break that window open. Look, that being said, I freaking love a run-of-the-mill, slightly phoned in or predominantly phoned in genre movie. I could not believe I was watching this in a movie theater. How much fun to watch a movie like this in a movie theater in 2025, when like in order to be in a movie theater you have to be a franchise movie or have some gimmick or have this or that. This just like slipped into theaters unnoticed.
I
and
know.
I got to
it
see it.
was the 17th place at the box office.
I got to see it with people. There was a nice little crowd at my screening, and we all just sat there and watched this mid-tier genre movie that wrapped up in 90 minutes. I honestly had a really good time. I'm glad I got a theatrical release. It's not a great movie, but because I had fun watching it, I'm going to say, you know what? It's all right. I give it 2.5 stars. It's all right. I didn't hate it.
All right, I feel that. I had a nice crowd too, and it was heartwarming to be with a bunch of action movie fans, and they were
Right?
there because it was movie time, and this was the action movie.
Old school, baby. Old
and
school.
you know, I really didn't like it though. because I just didn't think it was good.
Yeah.
And I thought it was mid, and mid to me, right? Mid these days is making me madder than bad. You know, I love a mid-tier genre movie. You know, the night previously, I saw 2 Minute Warning, which is a mid-tier. It's a disaster movie where John Cassavetes plays the head of LA SWAT and Charlton Heston plays the head of the LAPD, and they have to work together to get a sniper off of the top of the LA Coliseum during the Super Bowl.
Okay, that rules.
And,
Okay, all right. Well,
but okay, no, okay,
high bar,
no.
high bar for cleaner to clear.
No, look, no, the movie was like, it was pretty bad, right? Like
Yeah,
it was a boring slog, but you know, it had a lot of the joys of like your bad movie from, you know, the 70s, like disaster film, and it had a lot of disaster film stuff, and it had Cassavetes like going there and being weird. It had Heston being old and weird, and at the end, what it had was at the end of 2 hours, at the 2 minute warning, the guy finally shoots the fucking sniper. The LAPD spent the entire game trying to figure out how to get him off the roof. Boring ass movie for 2 hours. Last 10 minutes, beautiful and terrifying. Holy shit! Everyone running out of that stadium, getting trampled, Coliseum, scary as shit. Anyway, all that's to say is that movie like was really bad, but it was like a 2.5 stars, right? Because it had these redeeming qualities. It had some stars, taking some risks. It had some funny parts that were bad. It had some characters that worked. It had some cameos, and then at the end, it had some action set pieces that were really effective and beautiful, and like kind of made the whole thing worthwhile.
Sorry, are you still talking? You're not talking about the cleaner yet.
No, I'm talking about 2 Minute Warning. No, but sorry. This is my cleaner. My cleaner review is just like, okay, but in 2 Minute Warning, no, there's one part when Cassavetes, he like, who's that guy? And he wants to go check it out, so he puts on a flannel, and he like walks up to the top of the Coliseum and goes, "Come here, you!" And he has a big gun and like butts him.
I love when Cassavetes just like took a genre paycheck.
It was the best, dude.
You know, he was in a TV show in the '60s called Johnny Staccato Jazz Detective.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, which I'm still trying to find a copy of. If anybody has a copy of Johnny Staccato Jazz Detective,
it was
send it my
Cassavetes.
way.
Like he didn't like bulk up for the part.
Yes.
Like he like smoked cigarettes for 6 months and then he filmed. Like he looks so sinewy.
Yeah, he was coming off like a woman under the influence. And he's just like,
dude,
all right, I got.
He's standing on the back of a truck. He's looking at all the LA SWAT guys, and he's like, "All right, guys. So here's the deal. There's a guy on the roof of the Coliseum. We're gonna get up there. We're gonna take him down. Okay?" I was like, "John, pretend to be the head of SWAT." Okay, so back to Cleaner.
Yeah, please.
The autistic brother was so bad, and I use that word autistic because that was his character trait, and it was said many times. And he was like a hacker who had autism but was violent at boarding school, so that Daisy Ridley had to like bring him along the day the cleaner went down. And I just found it to be so manipulative and stupid. And it was like, okay, good. Not only do you have an autistic adult to feel bad about, so that's emotionally manipulative, I bet he's going to like hack something at the end because he has autism. And you bet your boots this autistic guy hacks something.
Counter opinion. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the brother-sister relationship. I didn't hate it. It gave me like I am just checking boxes in a movie like this. I got a motive. All right. I got like an emotional motive.
Yeah,
I
hated it.
Checking the box. All right. Let's rock and roll.
And do you know what? And then the final thing about Cleaner that was disappointing was the action was good, but when you tell me it's the guy that did Casino Royale, I expect best in class. And I liked the action sequences in Love Hurts a lot more than I liked the action sequences in Cleaner. And the action sequences in Cleaner were good. And Daisy Ridley is a good actor and a good action actor. And I like your take about that. And I'd watch her.
That's my big takeaway.
If she was like Liam Neeson and she made another Cleaner, and this time she's like whatever, a photographer,
stay in this lane,
or whatever.
Daisy.
It's like, do that.
Yes, don't let Cleaner run you out of this lane. Stay in this lane for a little bit.
Cleaner wasn't the end of the world, but it wasn't good. If Love Hurts was a 2.5, it was all right. Then Cleaner's going to be a bad. It's going to be 2 stars.
Fair enough.
It's
fair
2
enough.
stars.
Fair enough. And speaking of Fall from Grace, Joe, how I will say, look, I want that guy to get paychecks till he dies. It hurt my heart a little bit to see Clive Owen like show up in a mask doing like a big criminal thing, and it was like barely. This is the first 20 minutes, and I was like, man, going from Inside Man, where he's like wearing a mask doing a big criminal mastermind thing, to Cleaner. I was like,
yeah,
God.
And then they kill him pretty quick.
Good God, they do. Spoiler alert.
That was the spoiler.
That was the spoiler alert.
Well, yeah, it was a shame.
All right, none of you are going to see Cleaner. we saw it, so you don't have to.
2 minute warning.
I think it was all right. I think it was all right. Check out 2 Minute Warning or Johnny Staccato Jazz Detective if you can find it.
If you want to see Cassavetes being thin.
Now, look, we got some fun announcements because we got a fun week coming up. Let's start with next week on the show. Next week on the show, We're gonna talk about what a wow. You thought Barbenheimer was big, baby. Get ready for the
Last Ochi.
Yeah, the last Ochi, because we're gonna be talking about Last Breath with Woody Harrelson, which is. Based on a documentary, like scary stuff goes on underwater.
That's scary. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like underwater stuff.
I don't like underwater at all.
Some deep sea diver gets like stranded. It's like Gravity underwater.
No.
That's how I would be selling it if I was marketing this movie. And it's got Woody Harrelson.
And now, what's
in
this
it.
piece of shit over here on the right?
Well, Joe,
The
I don't
Legend
know
of
how big of a
Ochi.
piece of shit this is gonna be because look at that little production logo underneath. This is an A24 movie, baby. So you better get your expectations a little higher.
Oh, and you know it came out between 1995 and 2030 because Willem Dafoe's in it.
Yes, Willem Dafoe.
Another Dafoe. Let me guess. He's the weird fucking scientist that like is a little eccentric, but he's
Apparently
also
you
nice.
Apparently, you get a tax write-off if you have Willem Dafoe in your movie because that's the only explanation for him being in.
I
Every
do not.
single
I
movie.
like this Ochi. He is small, but he is very good.
To the kids, okay? We like Willem Dafoe because he has a unique acquired taste. Stop putting him on everything. Stop putting him on every dish. You cannot put Willem Dafoe is not salt, okay?
No.
He's
He's
cumin. Even cumin is
he's
too
cumin,
broad.
yeah.
He is
No, he is like
he's allspice.
what's
He's
that? Umami.
Sure, yes. He's
No, even
he's a
word
unique
umami.
he's a
No, he-
unique taste. He's a unique taste and you're putting him on
Star
everything.
anise.
There we go. He's star of anise. You don't put star of anise on everything, okay? You keep it for when you need it.
He's a bay
and that's
leaf.
who Willem Dafoe is, okay? You're overusing him and I'm sick of it. But we'll see how he is in Legend of Ochi. We'll see what the hell that is.
Who cares about that? I'm so mad.
Because
about
here
all
as
these
well,
movies.
because here's why next weekend's a little down in terms of new releases because
Oh.
it's Oscar weekend, baby. It's Oscar
Yeah.
weekend. And of course, we'll be talking about the Oscars and all the results on next week's show. But before then, we've decided we are going to be live streaming this year's Oscars, okay? Details coming your way soon. Check our socials at Movies Baby with 5 Ys. I'm sure it'll be on the normal channels and normal places that we do stuff. But we're going to be live streaming the Oscars. There it is. There it is. Have you seen that yet? Is that
Nope.
new? Okay, yeah, it's new. Joe's seeing this for the first time.
it's a picture of me.
You're on Meryl Streep's
Meryl
head.
Streep.
I just like that she had a gold dress. It's very Oscars.
Oh, I love that.
So I
And
put
then
your
she's
head on
holding
her
an Oscar,
body.
and then but it's you.
I'm the Oscar, yes. And so we're going to be live
like
streaming
that.
starting at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, Sunday, March 2nd for the Oscars. You don't want to watch the Oscars alone. Watch it with your friends, the dog and the freak, baby. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have our ballots. We're going to see who picked more of the winners. Margot's going to be here hanging out. Joe says he's going to cook like an Italian feast a la the end of Goodfellas, stirring the sauce and everything. We'll see if that comes to fruition. So join us for the Oscars live stream. We're going to be having a lot of fun. And then, of course, we're back on Monday with another full episode. And we're not done for today because we have our famous second half of the show coming your way very shortly, which is on Patreon only, patreon.com/moviesbaby with 5 Ys.
Today we're doing Best Supporting Actors.
Can't
And
wait.
Brett, I've seen both our lists. These are our best lists.
These
yet.
are our best lists.
These are our best
These are our
lists.
best lists.
Come talk supporting
Yes,
actors.
these are our best lists.
Today on the Patreon. We're gonna go off. You got to be there.
Yes,
Join us.
I was like, I think I did a really good list, and then I saw Joe's list, and I was like, his list is amazing.
Same. I did my list and I was like, I don't think there's 5 other actors that. And then I was like, oh wait, there are 5 other
What a
actors.
good we
They're
got
good.
we got
Yeah.
deep cuts and we got
Yeah.
big names.
Yeah,
we're going
yeah,
we're going high, we're going low, we're all over the place. I think these are the definitive two lists of best supporting actors of 2024, and you're gonna have to join the Patreon to find out what they are.
Yeah.
And we'll be back to do that in a mere 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll see you there.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.